I was to ask you, what are 3 or 4 things that are advantages to having an ADHD brain, what would they be?
I think it's really good to look at and talk in terms of advantages that people with ADHD have. Definitely, there are a lot of things that are hard, mostly because of how other people work, but there are also definitely advantages. I kind of struggle to find a word for the first one that occurs to me, which I want to say intensity. It's a way of saying stress, but not just, stress has a negative connotation, but it's that typically people with ADHD need extra stress or extra novelty in order to be engaged. And so, there's an ability to handle higher levels of stimulation than other people couldn't handle. And sometimes that means things being stressful. Sometimes that can mean like a whole bunch of things happening at once, which can sometimes mean multitasking, although I think we have to be careful because with ADHD, you can be tempted to do a lot of multitasking beyond your capabilities. But definitely handling high levels of intensity, whether it's many things happening at once, high levels of novelty, or high levels of stress is an advantage. Another one is creativity. Some of it is how your brain works, where our brains just kind of want to connect things a lot. So we see the relationships between things faster. It's like our brains break down barriers. So, other people are trying to think outside the box and we have trouble even seeing where the box is supposed to be. So that's both, kind of having ideas just pop at us and seeing the links between things really easily. I think a less obvious one is, and I'm going to put these are 2 things, I'll put them together though. Resilience and compassion both come from different aspects of ADHD that are sort of related. So for one thing, people with ADHD tend to be more neurologically sensitive. So that doesn't just mean, easily heard or sensitive to other people. It's more general. It can mean just noticing things more. So there are a couple of things that come out of that. One is that it's often easier for us to look at someone else's situation and have compassion for it. And the other side is that experiencing things a little bit more intensely and going through the difficulty of having a different way of, having a brain that works differently and learning how to find ways around that builds a lot of sort of problem solving and resilience skills. And I read a while back that, for example, a lot of successful entrepreneurs have ADHD and a lot of them also have dyslexia. And in the case of dyslexia, it's pretty obvious that there's not a lot in dyslexia that makes it easier for you to say, start a business. One of the theories is definitely that if you find it hard when you're, say, in school to learn stuff, and you have to find your own way and you get used to things not being easy, it makes it easier later on for you to tackle hard things where other people say, oh, I've never dealt with anything that hard. I could never do that. Whereas if you've constantly dealt with things that were hard, you look at it and you say, it's probably similar to what I've done so far, and so it's all wrapped up. So those are kind of 2 different things, but very related. So resilience and compassion, the ability to understand where other people are coming from because you're more sensitive and because you've been through a lot of crap, and also the way that crap has typically resulted in you having to find your own way. And that can be really powerful moving forward as you explore projects especially projects that don't have an obvious solution. And if you combine that with the creativity and intensity, you can see how certain jobs can become, obsessions and passions and lead to a lot of success for people with ADHD. So focusing on those areas of strength is really powerful.
I think you made, again, some great points, like the need for lack of better words, the intensity or the stress, big novelty to keep your brain entertained. You get bored really easily. And making sure that when you're multitasking that you're not pushing too far. I have found with some of the kids I work with that going between 2 subjects works really well, but going through between 4 subjects is a bit much. So it's just about finding out what works for you. And the other one that I really enjoy is is your hyper connected brain. You see the world in so many different ways that I will never comprehend. You make connections that I never would have even thought of. And I think it's fascinating. And I think that's also where your creativity comes from, just because you see the world differently and you're able to access that many more connections in your brain to find the answer to something. And I think you're right. Being a person who thinks differently than most of the population, you have had to prove yourself and find ways that work for you that are really different, which builds resilience. And if you guys like this, please like and share, because we'd like to send this as far as we can.